that East would like to abstain from casting a vote on that submission. Right. The next item on the agenda is the Heritage Incentive Grant approval for 75 St David Street, Lyttelton. Thanks very much to everyone. Would someone like to move that motion? Andrew Turner, seconded by Dion Swiggs. I'll put that motion. Oh, question? Yep. Yeah, sorry, we've got questions. Could you introduce yourselves at the end of the table? Sorry, I thought it's more than that.
Hi, I'm Amanda Owes. I'm a Senior Heritage Advisor in the Heritage team.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was just wondering, this applicant, are they the owners at the time of the earthquakes?
Yes, as far as I know, yes. Yeah.
So it's obviously getting a lot of water ingress, and they haven't actually done any mitigating factors to stop that ingress and it's caused deterioration?
I think they've done what they can, but due to the extensive damage to the building, there's only so much you can do with preventing water getting in as a temporary measure.
So one of the things when I was reading through the report, there's obviously a total repair of $631,000 to this place, which obviously going, I think 6.1 says there's additions and alterations that are going to be done at the same time, and they've already been settled about $170,000 for the repairs to the stone villa. We don't get the full report of what all this money, the $630,000 is going to, with the additions and alterations. So if we had a look at that $171,000, which says is for the stone villa, and actually took that off the repair to the heritage stuff, it actually reduces the cost quite a lot. Because I don't think that we should be paying for the full amount when a lot of this actual payout or the works for alterations and additions.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry if the report was confusing in that respect. I think it's clearer once you translate paragraph 5.2 and you go into the table at 6.4. What 6.4 sets out as the total cost of conservation and restoration works is 304,829. So that's the figure that we're looking at, and then we look at allocating a percentage of
so we don't deduct the actual insurance settlement that they've received, because they've received $170,000 in insurance settlement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's already taken off, isn't it?
Yeah.
So to me, they've received the settlement, and I don't think that they should be spending that settlement on alterations and additions to a property. They should be spending that settlement on the insurance aspect, the actual fixing of the place, the historical areas of it first.
Yeah.
So we don't know those. That's the total cost. That's the insurance. That's the gap.
Yeah. What we normally do with these grants is we do obviously we take into account the insurance, and this is a classic example, I suppose, of people being underinsured, and their total insurance payment is 170,000, and that includes EQC. The total repair bill for the building is about 600,000. So the figure that we then base our grant on is the gap. So we then refund a proportion of that gap. In this case, they've also separated out the amount of the works that relate to heritage and the amounts that they're putting in as additional items, which we don't normally cover. Things like new bathrooms and things like that, which are obviously not heritage. They're required to facilitate the use of the building, but we don't tend to fund that component. So the grant covers and is aimed at preserving those items of the heritage building which could easily be lost in any redevelopment of the building, and that is particularly the stone facade. So there's a focus on retaining the stonework of the facade and its prominence to the street. So we don't think that this is a grant that's proportionally out of sync with anything else that we've done in the past up to this point. These are the kind of buildings that they are more expensive to repair, and they're the ones that give you that sense of identity and uniqueness. So sorry, I didn't catch the earlier question.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It's more around the fact that they've actually been settled for a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
But looks to me that settlement's going to go on a lot of alterations and additions, not in the actual repair for the earthquake
Yeah, and we have taken...
damage. So to me, they should be using this insurance settlement, which they were obviously underinsured, as you've said, for the work on the heritage aspect first, and therefore we could reduce how much the council is paying for heritage aspects of it.
Yeah, there's different ways of looking at it, but we look at it as a complete package of works that are necessary to get that building reoccupied and reused.
But at the same time, we're allowing these people to put in new fittings, like new bathrooms and stuff, by not using their insurance payout for the actual heritage.
Yeah, but we're not, as I said, we're not including that.
Yeah.
We only pay them a percentage of the component which are heritage fabric.
No, I understand that. It's just where I think the money should go from what they've been insured, paid out for.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, this is we have had insurance issues in the past where people have bought buildings as is, whereas there's been no insurance and somebody's walked off with the insurance. Here, the actual owner is sticking with the building, and they are putting their entire insurance payout into the building. It's just it was insufficient to do the works that they're really needing to do to make this a place that somebody could either rent out or live in. So, yeah. Hopefully that answers your question.
Any other questions? Jamie?
Just wondering, can you put, I'm not sure if the policy allows us to do this or not, but can you put a condition as that they actually trim the trees? Because I kind of think this is a beautiful building, but what's the point in paying all this money if you can't see it?
Yeah, the only thing I could say there is probably that the maintenance has slipped over the last few years. I can't imagine that hedge was ever normally that high. The landscape, we can't put controls on that.
You can't do anything about the landscaping.
Not really, but it's in their own interest in terms of getting light into the building and views out. That they will, I'm sure they will trim the hedge.
You would think so. Yeah, it would just be disappointing if we've got public money going into that and then no one actually
and then
gets to
you can't actually see the facade. No. Yeah, I'd imagine it's just got out of hand.
All right, I'll go around with a pruner if they don't. Thank you,
Tim.
But kind of following along from Jamie's question, if we are giving and paying, surely we can put conditions in that enhance what we're paying for. Because I find it ridiculous that we can't put a condition in. I mean, obviously we have to have a balance with regards to it's their property, but in saying that, we are investing money. They're getting a rebuilt heritage building, and it's lovely and everything, but there must be, I would say, that to trim the hedge so there is an amount of visual amenity from the street to show off this historic building would be a fair condition. I realise it's overgrown in that, but will be others that may have this issue, but I find it odd that we feel we couldn't put a condition like that in, because we are paying the money, therefore, in my sense, well, we'll pay the money, and this is one of the conditions. Now, if they don't like it, we can negotiate height or all that type of thing, but I totally agree with Jamie.
Yeah.
That,
and there is a solution to that, and that's to put a clause in the covenant, which we hopefully will be able to do. Just saying that you need to retain the visual link between the roadway and the facade.
But
so,
would we put that condition in prior to agreeing the money? Because as soon as we pay the money and agree to, if they don't want to agree to put a condition in...
Yes, but read the second one, that the payment of the grant is subject to the applicant entering into a 20-year limited conservation covenant with the signed covenant having the council seal affixed prior to registration against the property title. So you're saying that we could add to that?
Yeah, you could put in a recommendation that there is a clause in the covenant which clarifies the requirement to maintain the landscaping between the front of the building and the roadway. I don't want to, obviously it needs to be carefully worded so that you don't dictate how they use the rest of the site, but just that prominence.
So can we just have some quick words there? So, just
Yes.
put at the end of that, put in number 3,
Yeah.
delegate to,
Well, we could delegate to staff, because staff
Well,
could come up with the
just
wording
staff.
for there. But I think we're all on the same page with that. And Brendan, I take it that you probably agree with me there as well. That that we want to preserve heritage, but the most important thing is that once it's preserved, that people can appreciate it.
Yep.
So what that wording looks like, shall we leave it to you guys? But you've heard from the council that we want that included. That there's
Yep.
a line of sight
Yep.
connection from the public
Yep.
realm to the building.
Just something
What-
about
what's the
maintaining
f-
visibility of the
what
building
is the
from the
f-
roadway. Yeah.
no, it's not to maintain landscaping, is it? It's
Visibility
It's
to
really
maintain
visibility.
visibility
of the facade.
Yes.
of the facade.
Because, and I think that captures as well, they
From
could
the
erect a
street.
fence or something, or, down
the
the
street.
line, which doesn't
to maintain visual
conflict with the
visibility
covenant.
of the facade.
Yeah, we could maybe qualify that with stonework facades from the front of the building, because that's where the uniqueness of this building is.
Visibility of the stonework,
Yeah, the stonework
And that
facade.
the stone
Prohibits
facade,
Overgrown
The stone.
hedges,
Stone facade.
facade
fences.
There we go.
from the street.
from the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through you, Leanne, can I also ask that perhaps in future
Delegation.
that you guys bear that in mind, just that there is probably a desire from the council to try and incorporate this in there. So if something does crop up where there may be potential to not have that line of sight,
I've
that we-
noted some of that here,
Right,
Jamie, for
thank
us
you,
to
Karen.
look at in a more strategic sense as well.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, because the whole point of a public contribution is that there is a public benefit.
Yeah, there's a public.
I mean, I know that when I went to the Christchurch Club when it re-established, they were very complimentary about the nature of the grant, but the quid pro quo was that they have open days where the public come and enjoy
Yeah.
the facility. Yeah. Anne.
Along those lines, will there be a plaque on the outside of the building so that people who are walking past can get some sense of the history of the place and some information?
We don't specifically put plaques on like that. Heritage New Zealand do. I suppose there's probably better ways of doing it in terms of the technology these days is available, just for have some sort of link that somebody can check and find some history of the building. Or we don't generally put.
I know we
plaques
haven't,
on.
but it's a really good point. No one's raised that before in the time that I've been here. I like the idea. I mean, I've been to other places where they've got a little plaque that says the legend, and I always take photographs of it along with the thing.
I was just going to say to councillors that we've had a discussion with Heritage New Zealand, who acknowledged that, and in fact we're in a similar position, that as a result of the past 6 years, there is a lot of information that enables a range of stories to be told around the heritage of the city. And so we've had an initial discussion with Heritage New Zealand about how we might collaborate in that work. So perhaps we can have that conversation and maybe brief you probably after Christmas about where we're getting to with that.
That's a good
But
idea.
we talked about that being a long-term project that we both organisations work on.
Yeah. Tim?
I do think it's a really good suggestion, because over in England you're wandering around and we can have links and all this kind of thing, but it's actually quite nice to have suddenly kind of been outside a house and it's got a plaque saying that's legend, etc. I think it would be we've got some cool history, and it's not all kind of like old history in the sense of, we've got Olivia Spencer Bowers. If there's a place where they actually did things, as in it was a base, why not celebrate it,
And I think, having a heritage trail or something could be quite a good, tourist. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Okay, right. Well, I'll put the resolution unless there's any discussion. Mike?
I can't support this. Now, I understand it comes from a fund. There's obviously a substantial amount of that fund. To me, there's just too many questions around the insurance side of it and where they're actually putting the money that has been settled for their indemnity value of the place, because obviously they were underinsured. So I can't support this.
Andrew?
I would draw councillors' attention to the value of this building as a really good example of this type of heritage in Lyttelton, possibly as a unique example of this type of building. Draw councillors' attention particularly to clauses 4.3.1 and clause 6.1, which refer to the unique heritage value of the building. I also think it's important to note that whilst a building might have heritage values, the future use of that building is a very important part of the maintenance of those heritage values. So I appreciate the comments that have been made around the overall budget and what that overall budget might be used for, but we've got in the report a list of the heritage items that we're funding, and it's 50% of the funding gap that we are funding. I would urge councillors to think of the future use of this building as a part of the preservation of its heritage, and therefore to support the staff recommendation on that basis.
Andrew? Oh, sorry, you are Aaron. Well, you called me Madam Mayor. It was my punishment.
Right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. If you prefer, I can call you Mr. Mayor, but that would be a completely different debate, and you haven't shown any signs at this point.
It'd be highly challenging for me to respond.
Yes. The idea of the debate that we have around these is if someone holds a strong view, they try and convince other councillors to vote in the way of their view. Now, Mike's made or Councillor Davidson has made a strong argument around the insurance settlement, and I, for one, would like more info around that and would be inclined to request that this lay on the table until the next meeting, until we can alleviate the points that he's brought up, because we are meant to be prudent stewards with the city's money, and this is part of that money. And I don't think the building's going anywhere in a hurry. Would that be an issue, or is there a reason why we wouldn't do that?
That wouldn't be in order to ask a question during the debate, but...
Well, he spoke after the... So...
He could.
I don't know if anyone else was convinced by Mike's point, but that's Mike's background for the last few years, has been working in that insurance field around earthquake places. So if he speaks up on that issue, I'd be inclined to listen.
Well,
so I'd like to move an amendment.
Yeah.
That we lay it on the table till the next meeting and we get the information around that, and then if we're convinced otherwise, we'd vote for it, and if we're not, we may never vote for it. And
okay, do I have a seconder for that, Mike? All right, so you want to enter the debate now? Okay, Yanni?
Just quickly to say that, I mean, for those councillors that have been here the last term and all the last term, actually the whole issue of insurance, as is whereas grants as well, has been raised. But I mean, I appreciate for the new councillors that have come in, it would actually be really good for them, I think, to understand, just how we've made some of those decisions in the past, and also how we might do it in the future. So I'd be more than happy to support the request that's been made on that basis, because I think it is important for the new councillors in particular to understand the context of these grants and how they've been made previously. But I have a lot of sympathy for looking at the issue around insurance and
All right. All right, well, Jamie?
Yeah, I think it's fair for me to speak to this briefly then if I'm going to vote against it. I hear and appreciate what Mike has said and also what Aaron has said, and to be perfectly frank, there's not any part of their argument that I disagree with. But I think if I've learned anything through my time at council is that sometimes you've got to look past at the initial niggles and take a high-level view on matters. And the high-level view for me is, at the end of the day, does this building have significance? Does this building warrant a grant for it to be saved? And at the end of the day, my vote is yes. I think that there is historic significance in this building. I think that there is cultural and community benefit from this building being retained. And the question for me is, do I or do I not want to see this building retained? And the answer for me is yes. So I'll be voting against the amendment on that basis, that I think that it adds value to the community. We don't have a lot of heritage left, but I think what we do have, we need to protect, and we have a fund for this very purpose, and it most certainly qualifies for it. So whilst I don't disagree with the argument, and I appreciate the points that have been made, I think from a high level perspective, the retention of buildings like this and their historic value is important for Christchurch.
Thank you, and very briefly, because of course when I spoke the amendment hadn't been signalled, my belief is that we need to look at this through the purpose of the fund, which is to preserve the heritage. I think we need to respect the fact that the owners are committed to this building, and therefore they are they're applying for this fund and they've this grant, and they've worked with our staff to achieve that. They haven't done what some other owners of difficult to repair and restore heritage buildings have done, and take the insurance money and go off elsewhere, leaving a problem for somebody else on an as-is, where-is basis. So on the basis that I think we need to be sending a strong signal that we want to be preserving the remaining heritage that we've got left in the city, and particularly something as unique as this, I'm not in favour of the amendment and would be voting against it.
All right, I'll put the... you can, no, I mean, on the same basis you can speak to the amendment.
No, it's fine.
I'll put the amendment. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
No.
That's lost. Are people comfortable? Or do you want to record those who voted? How people? Well, that's what it sounded like to me. All right, so
The division on the amendment, the Mayor,
against.
Councillor Turner,
Against.
Councillor Skingrich,
Against.
Councillor Goff, Councillor Buck,
For.
Councillor Livingstone,
Against.
Councillor East, Councillor Clearwater,
Against.
Councillor Johansson,
For.
Councillor Swiggs,
Against.
Councillor Templeton, Councillor Mandy, Councillor Curran,
For.
Councillor Galloway, Councillor Chen,
No.
Councillor Davidson,
For.
Councillor Cotter. For the amendment and 13 against.
Right, that is lost. I'll put the resolution, and I'll put the resolution. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no.
No.
And Mike Davidson recorded opposed vote. Right.